Welcome to this episode of Screen Bytes, where we discuss video games, technology, TV, and movies. In this episode, we use artificial intelligence to suggest us some topics. Okay, so after the last episode where we actually, surprisingly, decided to change the name of the entire podcast, 100% didn't expect to actually do that, but we came up with a surprisingly good name that doesn't seem to be taken in the English language. Not currently, anyway. Funny thing is, the next idea I had revolving around AI is to use ChatGPT to kind of suggest some ideas. And are you still looking at the screen, yeah?
Yeah, I'm still looking at the screen.
I completely forgot. I did this earlier this week. Previous 7 days. I host a technology and gaming focused podcast. Please suggest some topic ideas. And yes, ChatGPT gave me a few ideas. Now, I don't think this bit we need to include TV and movies bit, do we? Because we just pick a TV or movie that we want to talk about. So I think for this bit, sticking with technology and gaming is fine. So I didn't think these were too bad when I looked at them. I can't remember any of them at the moment, but when I first did this and had a look, I was like, they're not too bad. So the first topic is the rise of cloud gaming. Explore the growing trend of cloud gaming platforms, their benefits, challenges, and their potential impact on the gaming industry. And do you know something? That is something that we have featured quite heavily on our podcast. Like, we've done an entire episode on it, and we've made mention and spoken about that on more than one occasion, even in the last episode that we recorded. From our perspective, I haven't edited the last episode we recorded, but the last episode that was released was the PlayStation Q. And that's where we were talking about cloud gaming as well as in-house streaming. So actually, I feel like we're doing pretty well on that one. Which I suppose we're not doing pretty well on that one. It means there's a topic we can't do from this list because we've already done it. So the second topic is esports, and I will confess that this is not something that I've really paid any attention. So esports, discuss the evolution of esports, major tournaments, the rise of professional gaming, and the impact on esports on traditional sports. That is quite interesting. I don't know if that's really... And here's the thing, is this a podcast idea or is this a video essay sort of thing? Like, that is something that you would have to research and write a script almost of what you're talking about. And
I know a little bit about esports in terms of FIFA. There's a lot of people that have turned professional and they just play FIFA and they do tournaments, and the aim is if you win the tournament you get like 100,000, saying crazy amount of money, but you have to be very, very good and there's a lot of practicing with that, and it's kind of annoying as well because each year they release a new game, and then the game changes its mechanics and the feel, and you have to get into that and you have to find out like what are the routines of the game again. So if he does this, then I must do this to gain my advantage, stuff like that. That's the mindset you gotta have. But that's with every game. Like, you play like Fortnite, people that play Fortnite, or I know that there's like a Pokemon league as well where people...
Yeah, Pokemon will be pretty big.
In London, I know someone who actually went there, and they have like Pokemon tournaments, which sounds quite interesting. So I'm not sure which game they must play the latest game, but yeah, that sounds quite interesting. Like, you might be interested to watch if you follow. I suppose if you start following it and then you get to know the people that are professionals, and you know what characters that they have in their disposal, then it might be interesting. You're like, okay, what's he gonna do?
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing that could be slightly different. Is like, obviously people who follow real sports people will kind of, maybe they'll follow an individual person or a team. But when you follow someone who's an esport person, you get to choose. In a sense, you can follow the person, but you can also sort of like follow the digital persona that they are in the game that they play. So whether they are in Counter-Strike, I don't know if I can articulate this very well, but it's like the person you play in a video game isn't necessarily the same thing you are in sort of like real life. And I don't know how common it is for esports people to play multiple esports games professionally. Maybe you only do CS:GO, but like maybe he's someone who plays FIFA might play basketball games. I know nothing about sports, absolutely nothing. But I don't know, like there is scope that you could follow not a real person, if that makes sense. You could almost have an esports that isn't based around the people themselves, but the characters. See, I'm thinking too much about gaming, aren't I? I mean, most esports, you're either playing as a Counter-Strike where, there's no real characters, it's just you're a terrorist or a counter-terrorist, or you're playing as other real-life people. So maybe none of that exists at all, but see, this is how little I pay attention to esports. I remember when we went to Eurogamer, I remember we went past the esports area and we saw some stuff going on, but didn't seem terribly interesting to me, if I'm completely honest. Do you follow anything?
No, I don't follow any of it, but I do, like, say, especially when I went with you and Barry to that Eurogamer, and they did have when you are watching the esports, like on a live stream, they have like commentary, so that's quite cool. So you get into it because they're quite invested as well, and I suppose it's just not just you watching a screen, and they have people talking about the games after and previews, so it's good. They try and have it like it's a professional sport, but it is a video game, but it's moving in the right direction where you're like, they're trying to shrug off the fact that it's just a game, and like you could play professional Rocket League.
What does it bring to gaming that's good? Like, what does it?
Money.
Does it have a positive impact?
Brings money.
To who though? Like, to the people who win? What about the people watching?
Well, it's the companies that make the games, and then it has the ability to expand, make more games and different games.
I know you like watching football, but to me, it's like I don't follow any sports. I'm happy to play sports, where I physically can. Not as young as I once was, but it's like I'd rather play a sport than watch it on TV. And I kind of feel the same way about gaming, that I would rather play a game than watch an esports tournament. But then I remember all of the Let's Play videos that I watch, and I'm like, you're being a bit of a hypocrite there, because you spent countless hours watching people play Minecraft and City Skylines and other games that aren't coming to mind. So, I mean, what's the difference between esports and Let's Plays? I mean, realistically, not a lot. It's just it's slightly different goals, really.
Esports is more...
Obviously, it's more competition, isn't it?
It's a competition, and the excitement is who's going to win and who's going to get to the final and stuff like that. In terms of if it's going to outpace actual real sports, I can't see that happening, but I think for people like us two, who are not really versed in esports, I bet if you went to like the final or even a semi-final of, say, like a FIFA tournament, you'd be surprised how many people will actually attend and watch it and be watching online. I bet there's a lot of people, like a good 100,000 people probably watching online, maybe even more, but there'll be a packed out arena. I think there was like a documentary, wasn't there, a few years back? Someone did a documentary on esports and the growth of it. They were saying like they were very surprised on how many people were invested into something like this. It is going to get bigger and bigger, but I don't think it's going to outpace the actual traditional sports. FIFA is not going to outpace actual football and the Champions League, because you've got like billions watching the Champions League and watching the Premier League. I also know that in Japan or in some Asian countries, they do have degrees on this kind of stuff.
What, in esports?
Yeah, like I think like, is it Dota 2? Like how to get really like, because they have a lot of internet cafes, don't they? And a lot of places where you just go in, you pay, and that's all they do. They just play esports games. Like they love that, like StarCraft 2 and Dota 2 and CS:GO. But yeah, they're trying to make it into a legit business and a legit way of making money. So yeah, I think it's if someone said to me, okay, we're going to sit down and watch the final of the esports championship, I'll be like, yeah, okay, I might give that a watch. Like, I wouldn't be totally against it, and I wouldn't be bored. I'd probably be watching it and thinking... I know also, like, Tekken is very popular as well, like watching people fight on Tekken. And it's also interesting to watch on YouTube when people cheat and they get caught cheating. And
See, that's all I know about esports. There has been times where people have been cheating because they've taken their own mouse or their own chair or something like that, and it's been called out as being either unfair or outright cheating or something like that. That's basically my only sort of awareness fairness of esports.
Yeah, I think there's been a few people where one individual has cheated within the team, and then the whole team gets banned, and then you're like, what the hell? The rest of the team are like, why?
Even I can say that seems a little unfair, but
Well, it's the rules, isn't it? Like,
well, of course it is, yeah. But it's unfair on that team for just because one person. Because if it was football, if someone cheats, they get a red card, and the rest of the team carries on, don't they? So
yeah.
All right, so should we move on to the next one?
Sure.
I don't think we're going to do all 10 of these. Depends on how long we talk about each one. So, tech topic number 3. Virtual reality and augmented reality. Dive into the latest advancements in VR and AR technologies, their applications in gaming, entertainment, and beyond. And I shit you not, I had no idea this was in the list when I said to you earlier what I wanted to talk about in terms of Apple Vision Pro. That is actually what I want to talk about, not Apple Vision Pro and the Meta Quest 2, but virtual reality and augmented reality and the whole...
Well, should we leave that for, like, another...
Yeah. I want that to be its own episode, and I feel like I want to do a bit more, like, research and reading on it first. That's quite funny, though, that came up so quickly in the list. So, the future of gaming consoles. Explore the next generation of gaming consoles, their features, performance, and the future of gaming hardware. We've done that.
Well,
we did do that when the PS5 and the Xbox Series were announced. Obviously, we can't do it at the moment. There's no next-gen stuff, except the PlayStation Slim has been leaked by Microsoft. That's another thing I want to talk to you about, is the fact that Microsoft seem to be leaking PlayStation stuff left, right, and centre. Like, what the hell's going on there?
Well, they're in a legal battle, aren't they? With trying to acquire Activision.
Oh, is that where it's all coming from? Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's been 2 things where Microsoft have been like, oh, PlayStation are doing this, PlayStation are doing that.
They said last week that they lost the console war last generation. They admit that they've lost the console war. It's all like they're trying to seem like we're the small...
But who has to win? Why does there have to be winners and losers? Why can't everyone just why can't we just play
because
together?
they have to... They're trying to submit a case, and it's gone through like a court, hasn't it? And it's up for review in terms of if they can acquire Activision. And Sony, they want Call of Duty, and they want it permanently, and Microsoft has said, well, I don't think so. It's only going to be like, you can have it for like 6-7 years, and then it goes. Stuff like that, but it kind of doesn't make sense anyway. You might as well just keep it multi-platform, get the most money. But in terms of the future of gaming, we could like touch on that like very briefly. Like, I think the future of gaming would be a console without a disk drive, and it seems like
that's not the future though. That's been a thing since previous generation.
There's loads of rumors as well about everyone's saying, is there going to be a PS5 Pro, and is there going to be another Xbox console? And Microsoft has just said no. There's definitely not going to be a new revision hardware coming out in the next year or 2. But Sony have been kind of quiet about it, so people are speculating, will there be a PlayStation 4 Pro? I think definitely there'll be a PS5 Slim. You don't need that to be rumoured. They're going to make a slimmer version at some point, but I'm not sure in terms of a PS5 Pro. I don't know what you're...
Did they make a PS4 Pro? A PS4 Slim?
Yeah.
Did they? I know they did the PS4 and the PS4 Pro.
It was quite good. It was a quite good little console because it was a lot quieter than the original PS4, and it drawed less power. And they were going very cheap when they came out, because the PS4 Pro came out around about the same time. Oh,
okay. So they released the Slim and the Pro together.
No. It's just a PS4. It's just a... Oh, yeah. Sorry. I misunderstood what you said. Yeah, I think they released it around about the same time. So, yeah, you've got a PS4, and then you've got a PS4 Slim, and then you've got a PS4 Pro. People are speculating, is there going to be a PS5 Pro? That's the big question. I'm not really surprised that there's rumours about...
Well, you say that, but it was Microsoft that said it, so...
Well, I'm not really surprised about a PS5 Slim.
It was Microsoft that said the PlayStation Q is going to be $269, I think, and they also said about the PS5 Slim before the end of 2023, so yeah, like, it seems to be a thing that might be happening.
Yeah, I can see it happening. But I'm not surprised. That's the thing, like, they could say that it's happening, I'll be like, yeah, I can imagine it might be. It's been like, if you think like PS2, when a PS2 came out, when did that came out? In like Japan it came out in 1999, and then like a few years of what are we now? So it's like I could see it probably coming out at the end of this year, because it's been like 4 years. PS2 Slim came out in 2004, I believe. So, and then you look at PS3 came out in 2006. and then the PS3 Slim came out in 2009. So yeah, it's like a 3-4 year window, and then they bring out a slimmer, the chip, I think it's the die, they can like slim it down, and then the components, and put it into a smaller factor box.
I think the crazy thing I find is that the PS5 was released in November 2020, and I think about when we got ours, and it's like, that was 2021. Like, we've already had it for like a year and a half, but
it doesn't feel like it.
It feels like we've had it 6 months, but we've actually had it for quite a while now. Yeah,
that's the thing. That's why a lot of people are like, why do you need a PS5 Pro? It still feels like we're in like cross-platform territory with PS4 and PS5.
Yeah, but the PS4 and the Xbox Ones are they're being dropped in terms of game support.
They are now. Like I think next year that's it. Like there's not gonna be any new games released for those systems. Like in terms of the AAA.
But like I say, like what is the PS5 Pro gonna offer that the PS5 doesn't? And 8K 60?
No, it's not gonna offer 8K. I could see that.
Well, it does. What does it do? 4K 120 and 8K something. It does 8K. It claims to do 8K anyway.
It claims to do 8K, but it doesn't do 8K. Doesn't do 8K. I could see a PS5 Pro doing more with like ray tracing. Than
potentially.
There could be more features that the PS5 Pro could do than the standard PS5.
And I suppose what you could also do is say, oh, here's the PS5 Pro. It's got a few more ray tracing cores, and it comes with the more expensive DualSense controller by default.
Yeah.
That's a way of doing it cheatingly. It's like, oh, if we can't find all the features within the console, we can say, oh, it's going to come with the DualSense Pro, whatever it's called.
But I can see people like, if they said, okay, this is going to cost you...
Or it might be more PSVR 2 stuff, something more power for that.
I think people would be willing to spend 700 quid. If they said, like, this is going to cost you like 700 quid, some ridiculous price, I think they would still sell a good few. Like PS5 itself is not even that far away now because they've had to up the price to what it was originally.
Have they now?
Well, yeah, it's been like that for like a year now, hasn't it? They had to up the price.
Well, we bought it as a bundle, so I don't really know how much it cost on its own.
Xbox did the same last week.
480.
They've upped the price. Xbox Series X. I managed to get one, but we managed to get one before they upped the price. And they've upped the price on Game Pass, haven't they? They put the price
Have they?
up. Yeah.
What's it now?
Oh, I don't.
I get it for free, and actually, we're not even using it.
Really? You give it to me. I'll use it.
No, it's with my phone contract.
Oh, give it to me.
No, can't do that. Family sharing, can't do it.
Anyway, but in terms of the...
Oh, I just realised I was opening my emails with you watching.
I wasn't really paying attention. Like, listen.
Good. Trying to see how much we paid for the PlayStation 5, but it wasn't loading in. That's fine.
I can see a PS5 Slim. I can't see anything else coming from Xbox. Xbox have really brought out a new Xbox One, Xbox Series S 1 terabyte edition of the console, and it's in black. So they've done that, and that's all they're going to do for now. But yeah, definitely I can see a PS5 Slim. I don't think Xbox are going to bring out an Xbox Series X Slim, because they'll just say, okay, you've got the Xbox Series S. They're not gonna slim down the Series X.
It feels like they've got their entire range. Have you seen how tiny the Xbox Series S is?
Yeah, but the thing is that consoles could pick out one up, second-hand one up for like 130 quid.
So get this, I bought 5 of them for school.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't know why I didn't mention it earlier. It's for esports.
Oh, for crap!
Yeah, I completely forgot. And maybe we can carry on to the next topic, because the next topic is gaming in education. Discuss how video games can be used as educational tools.
Yeah.
So in school, we bought 5 Xboxes, and they're Xbox Series S's, and they're not really being used for education. They're just being used as a game club so that they can play Rocket League and Fortnite and maybe a bit of Fall Guys. But sorry, I completely forgot that I bought them, but it's not really anything to do with me. It's actually the PE teacher who's kind of heading it up. But yeah, we ordered 5 Xbox Series S's, and they're about 2/3 the size of an old Xbox One S. They're really tiny. They're genuinely quite small because they don't have optical disc reader inside them. So it's just the puppy's gone to bed, so we'll have to end this soon. It's just the game board inside and a fan to keep it cool and a power supply. Doesn't need a lot of space. I mean, I set the whole systems up, and it's just basically it's Xbox. It's the exact same interface as the Xbox One on this series, so no real change there. I didn't actually play any games, so I haven't seen if graphically it's any different to my One S, but
there'll be a difference in terms of games.
Oh, I'm sure there will be, but like I said, I never actually played the game, and the types of games that we downloaded, you wouldn't really see the difference on anyway. Or it might be that they're running at 60 FPS instead of 30.
Yeah, stuff like that, and higher resolution if you got a capable TV. So you could do like 1440p on a 4K and then upscale to 4K. But in terms of the future of gaming, yeah, I could see it really becoming all digital at some point. And I think this is just a bit of a taste, dipping their toes in. Like we said before when we first talked about the consoles back in like 2020. Like PS5 seems like it's a console that was just like, oh, okay, we're at an optical drive, and it just seems it's just been slapped on. It doesn't really fit the console itself. And the Microsoft have been like, okay, there are people who are into Game Pass and only want Game Pass, so maybe we can offer like a cheap option and give it to them, and they can subscribe to our Game Pass and just play the games like that. And then there's the hardcore, like, want the ultimate gaming experience, who want to play at 4K 120, then we can offer the Xbox Series X. So the Microsoft would like teeter into both players. But I think if you've seen like what's it called, Alan Wake 2, that's not getting released physically, it's only going to be released digitally.
But there's a lot of games that are, the physical release isn't actually, it doesn't come with a disc, it comes with a code. That's not the only game that I've seen that happen with.
Yeah, that's true. Like Halo Infinite, you have to be online to download the rest of the game, and it just gives you a code. There's no disc. But you don't with that game. You're not even getting a physical case. It's all, you can only play it digitally. For a lot of people, they'll be like, "No, I'm not doing that. I want to own that physically, even if it's a code in the case. I want to physically have it on my shelf." So yeah, I could see a lot more with us, we're used to having Steam and downloading on Steam, and that's fine. But for some people to have...
The way DRM goes with online connectivity, I genuinely don't think there's any benefit to having a disc version of a game over just buying it digitally.
No, I disagree.
With modern games, because they've got a phone home every 30 days or something, a game can be disabled even if you have the disc version just as easily as your Xbox Store version of the game. Like, there's no benefit to having the game.
There is. So the benefit of having the game actually on the disc as well is that, say you can only access the game digitally, and then they shut the servers down, and then the game's lost. You can't re-download that game anymore. But if you had the game physically on the disc, you could install it, and it will play the game, or install it to the hard drive.
Not necessarily, though.
Not necessarily, but...
Because when you try and launch that game, it will say, okay, thank you very much for installing. Let me phone home to see if this license is active. Does that, and it fails, because it's online activation. It's not like the old days where you have a 25-character key and you just put that in and it works. It's all DRM'd. It doesn't matter whether you got a disc or a digital version. No one's going to be able to play it.
That's a problem, and that is a problem.
It is a problem, but it's not fixed by refusing to buy digitally and only buying the disc version. The only benefit of buying the disc version of a game is when you buy it secondhand. That is literally the only benefit of secondhand of disc-based games.
And one annoying thing that I find as well is like, you have the disc, and say you don't have the access to the internet. You put the game in, and the game runs terribly. You look online, like the game's running fine for everyone else, but it needs a day one patch, and then you're stuck and you can't download that patch, and your game runs terribly. I know back in the day, like PS2 and Xbox, the game needed to work day one, and there was no patches. It had to work. But now we got this idea that, oh no, we'll send it out and then we'll patch it, and then we'll keep patching it. Like, look at The Last of Us, complete mess that was on PC, where they just put it out and the game was crashing, the frame rate was terrible, beastly graphics cards like an RTX 3080 struggling, stuff like that, and that's not acceptable. And then it's like a few months later, they're like, okay, we've patched the game, so now it's playable for everyone, and it's even playable for people who have got like medium range graphics cards. That's still not good enough. If you got like a medium range graphics card, you're not expecting it to play at 4K ultra settings. You understand that you'll be probably playing this at 1080p on low settings. Fair enough. to have like the crashes and the pop-ins, and yeah, that was just a terrible experience. And that's why I kind of fear in the future where developers are just like, just release it and then we'll just patch it later. And it's just like a beta. You're signing up for a beta, and that's the thing, you're paying £40 or 50, £70 sometimes,
£80, £100.
And in the time in which it's got good in terms of performance and frame rate and the graphics, the game is a lot cheaper. Or you could pick up no offense, you could pick up a second-hand copy. I know that's not going to the developer, but still, like, you could pick up a copy and then you're like, okay, now it works. Now the game is actually playable. But that's not good enough in my book. When you release the game should be in a semi-playable state in which you can play from start to end without it crashing, and the frame rate is terrible. That's what I'm kind of worried as a future. And the microtransactions where it's like, there's that Batman game, isn't there? I think there's going to be this new Batman game from, is it Rocksteady? The guys that make the Arkham games. They've made some really nice, really great games. And that's, we're going to make it a microtransaction game. It's a mess, complete mess. And like, people were just kicking and screaming saying, what are you doing? And then they've had to go back on it and go back to the drawing board, I think, with it. People don't want to be paying money all the time, just to unlock a stupid character that they should be able to unlock it within the game. Or they don't want, you're playing a game and then you got basically just like a lottery in terms of you could either get XP and stuff to get like a lotto and then you get items and stuff, or you could actually just pay money. And then a lot of people are just like, I can't be asked to get the XP and spend the time playing the game. I'm just going to pay whatever in terms of money, and then I get all the best guns and the best armor, and then I could just kill everyone in the game. So how's that for? People can just cheat and get, well, not really cheat, because you're letting them do it. You're letting these people pay and get an advantage, and you're like, well, that's not really fair. Like, for someone who hasn't got any money, and it's going to take you like, I don't know, take like 200 hours within the game to get that. Where someone's just like, sorry, I'll pay the 100, 200 quid to get that kind of stuff.
And it doesn't even have to be that expensive to do it, but it's like, when you pay to win,
it's not the player's fault.
There's no fun in that at that point.
No.
I know when I've not paid to win, but I know with the GTA Online, I spent, 8 or 9 months slogging away to get enough money to buy a high-end apartment with a 10-car garage, and I bought the car of my dreams that was in GTA 5, which was, it's one of the ones where the roof goes back, a metal roof. It's like a Ferrari kind of knockoff in GTA 5. And there was one time where something happened. There was a big glitch, and it got overwritten by a random car. And I remember having to go to GTA support, Rockstar support, and say, hey, I've spent all this time and hours and money getting this car, and there's a bug in the game, and it's put this car in the garage spot 1, and it's overwritten this car that I spent ages saving up for and fully upgraded. So basically they had to they gave me the in-money equivalent of the car, so that I could then go and repurchase the car and fully spec it up like I had done. And then a few months later, what happened is it was when the big cheating mods came about, and people were just going into the lobbies, and they were, well, basically, instead of giving people money, what they would do, because obviously if you give people money, that's traceable, what they would do is they would fire onto the ground like bullets, but the bullets were bags of money, and each bag was like $1,000. And I remember getting millions upon millions of money through these sort of hackers and cheaters and everything, and it was basically untraceable. Even though Rockstar was saying, oh, we're going to track it down and everything, they kind of never did. And I thought I was super clever. I bought a whole load of really expensive cars, waited for everything to die down after a few months, and then I sold them. Basically, I laundered the money in the game. But then at that point, it's like, oh, I'm sitting here with 10 million quid. I can buy practically everything that was in the online game at the time. And do you know what? It was no longer fun. I haven't played any more of the online story since then. I even did, the heists came out after that. And all of the heist did was give me £250,000 I had 10 million quid. Didn't need to do the heist. It was kind of a bit fun and everything. But doing that took all the fun out of the game that I had actually spent months enjoying and building up and leveling up and everything like that. And to this day, in all the years I spent playing the game, even since then, I only gained like 3 levels. I went from like 94 to 97. But before that, I'd got all the way to level 94. Like, I still haven't hit level 100. There's a whole load of upgrades and weapons that I can't get in the game because I've just not progressed the story to do so, because I just got bored and I don't need the money anymore. And it's a bit like that with pay to win. It's like, yeah, you could pay 10 quid here or 50 quid there or 100 quid there, but unless you're a bit of a jerk and you're just kind of there to be a bad time for other players, it's like, what's the point? I mean, I guess other people enjoy it and they do get something out of it, but I feel like a lot of people don't get anything real out of it, and it's just showing off, or it's to make themselves look rich because they can afford to spend money frivolously and things like that. And to the rest of us who don't spend our money that way, it's just like, oh, just go away, you're kind of annoying. Yeah, I doubt you have ever paid to win. Have you ever paid to win?
No, never. I never really. It's never crossed my mind in terms of like. I think like Star Wars Battlefront 2 a few years back was one where you're just like, you start playing like, this is great, and then you're like leveling up, and then you realize it's going to take you like a lifetime, and there's people that just paid their money, and you're just like, I kind of can't be asked to play the game because there's so many people that have just bought to win, and the game lets you do that. It should be like, there should be none of that in my opinion. It should be all done right.
Do you know what? I mean, there's a part of me that's like, do you know what? If the calculation was different, if pay to win was cheaper and the grind was less, I wouldn't mind. Like, I'm a player who doesn't mind grinding in games at times.
I don't mind grinding.
So it's like GTA Online, you had to grind. It's like that car I bought. I had to grind to get that car. Genuinely, 100%, I enjoyed the grind to get the, I don't know, I can't remember how much the car cost, but whatever it was, I enjoyed it. It took me a long time, and I felt rewarded for having done that. And if someone wants to pay 100 real life pounds to get that car, whatever. But there's a part of me that's like, okay, if the microtransaction was like a tenner, it's not a huge amount of money. Fine, whatever. Let them do it. Like, it's not a lot, whatever. But what happened is they made everything cost £100 in real life money. So, like, kids are stealing their parents' credit cards and running into debts that they shouldn't be doing, and it's becoming a real problem because it's a huge amount of money for not a lot of in-game content. But at the same time, if you want to get that car, you now have to grind away. Like, there was something in GTA, and I was like, you have to grind away like 900 hours just to do this thing without paying real life money. It's like, that's not fun. That's not a video game. That's not what you created there, a video game. You created just a funnel for money, and they know that. They're just feeding off the whales in the gaming market, but it just leaves a sour taste for the rest of us, I think.
I think also like a good point they mentioned about the credit cards and people paying the money and getting themselves into debt. Like a few years ago, there was a big fuss about the way games are actually, it's like they use like gambling techniques to get people to buy, and the way
loot boxes and all that kind of stuff.
The loot boxes and the way they present it, and it's like people are getting their fixes.
And children.
Yeah, to me that's just wrong. Just don't do that. And like I don't know, I was thinking
it's not legal, and except it kind of is. You know, this is the thing.
It's just morally wrong in my opinion. Like, you know that there's someone out there who is vulnerable to this kind of stuff. I was thinking like what you said about making it cheaper. I was thinking, well, if they make it cheaper, then you get more people be like, who are gamblers, who might be like, oh, it's cheap, you know, I'll do it. But I think even if it was very expensive, I think these kinds of people would still do it because they have an addiction.
And that's the thing. It's like it's better for someone to get 5 fixes of a tenner than it is to get 2 fixes of 100.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if it's like I'm not 100% against microtransactions. I just think they have to be done in a good way. It should be things that don't affect gameplay, so things like skins. But they also shouldn't be a lot of money. They shouldn't be £10 per skin. It should be like, oh, pay us a £5 and we'll give you 100 skins. Like, genuinely, I think it should be like that. Like something it's like, it shouldn't affect the individual person's finances in any meaningful way, and you should get a lot for it. If you buy a game for 80 quid, you get a lot for it. If you then go and buy, like, how much does GTA cost? I paid 40 quid for it when it was brand new on the 360. The fact that people are spending £100 on shark cards to buy a single car in game is just insane.
Yeah, I think it's morally wrong in terms of a gamer and someone who generally just worried about vulnerable people. But if I had the mindset, and if I was put in the position of I'm the game director, let's say, and my job is to make the most money out of the game as possible, I would definitely put this, put that together and put it in the game, regardless if it's morally wrong. Because yeah,
that's the problem though, isn't it?
I have the ability to do it. There is no one to tell me that I can't do it. There's no restrictions. There's no, it doesn't seem like there's a law. So I will do anything to make as much money as possible. And I don't really care if I take vulnerable people's money. This is how they look at it. They don't care. They're just like, you're just basically pigs to these people. They just want your money. And they're there to get the most money out of you. It kind of feels like a crime in a way. Like, there's no really any police on the loot crate kind of situation. I know it's kind of died down in the last few years.
Well, no, the EU have cracked down on it, so there has been some stuff coming in to kind of counteract it, but it doesn't affect everyone everywhere. So that was using AI to come up with 5 different topics, and I'll be honest, I wasn't 100% sure how that was going to go when we started, whether it was going to be like, oh, here's a topic, talk about it for 30 seconds and carry on. And that happened with a couple of them, but actually 2 of them we got quite a decent conversation out of. So turns out AI, it can be pretty useful. Thank you for listening to this episode of Screen Bytes. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe on YouTube, or follow us in your favourite podcast app of choice. Tommy, after your first experience of using AI, what does that make you think about AI?
Well, I have seen it work at work. We do use it at work, but I haven't personally used it. I've had someone code review my work using AI.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's quite good though, and I think I'll be using it in the future, especially for work. So instead of submitting it for a code review, like before I submit it, put it through an AI and see what the AI thinks first. And it will break it down and tell you exactly what the code does. And
yeah, it is pretty good. I have heard it's pretty good.
It's just unbelievable, because you're thinking, technically we don't need people anymore. You could just give it to an AI and it does the job. You don't need a supervisor anymore. You don't need someone to go through it and review it and say, oh, okay, you can change this, or we could do this better. But it's not going to replace it entirely, because with coding, there's always like different ways you can improve the code. So you'd be like, instead of doing all these lines of code, you could do like a while loop or if statement, and you say, okay, that shortens down the code. You don't have to use so much, there won't be so many lines of text. Or you could create methods and pass in parameters, pass something in instead of like calling it each time, and stuff like that. So there are stuff in which it can't like say, oh, if you did it this way, it would be a lot better and a lot easier to read. I think it only like recommends like names and stuff. But I haven't really dabbled too much, so I'm gonna give it more of a go. But for me, using the AI, I'll probably only use it for like work purposes for now.